Hello, I'm back. Well, as I said, I was going to talk about my series, Loving Gospel Music. Basically, stories about gay black men in the gospel music industry. That's the backdrop anyway. So, in other words, life happens, and it's kind of the stories are sort of formed around black gay men involved in the gay gospel music industry. So, the first book, as I said, was more coming of age story. It's the biggest book in of the three that I have so far in the series. Uh, and it contains a beautiful love story. The story of Dwayne Brown and his, there was no gay marriage then, so his partner, Joey White, who was a gospel music legend and producer. And it's where the record company that they are all involved in, Strad Records, is formed there. The church that they're all involved in, which is actually the pastor is Dwayne's brother, who's a heterosexual man, but he's had a horrendous past as a drug dealer. He's now saved and uh, becomes pastor of a mega church. And so a lot of happens in this book, Love and Gospel Music. And so when I finished this book, I feel like the story wasn't yet told. I feel like people had not read it. And so I determined that I was not going to stop writing these books until people grasp the story and saw its relevance. I don't think anyone's telling telling the story of us in that particular industry. I mean, gay people are involved in anything creative. They're involved in dancing, writing, and I mean, in anything that's creative, you're going to find gay guys. But so it's kind of unique in as much as it focuses on this particular industry. So the second book, that was Dwayne and Joey. They fall in love. They're both black guys. Joey's a singer. Dwayne becomes a producer, and Dwayne is eventually murdered in that book. But it's a beautiful love story. Second book, this is just a quick review, is The Epiphany. This book has got 6 murders in it. So after Dwayne was killed in the last book, Joey comes to San Francisco to kill himself. Before he's able to kill himself, he's confronted by an epiphany, spelled with an I, who's a supernatural creature, basically a messenger, kind of lines you up, gets you back on track, a messenger and also a guide. So he gets him off the bridge, and so becomes their adventure. About a third of the way through the book, the other protagonist is introduced. His name is Dallas Jordan, and he is, I know people don't want to read about the love life of a 60-year-old man, so I thought I would bring some more young people into it because young love is so beautiful. So this is about an interracial relationship between Dwayne, who is Joey's protege, and this millionaire's. He's a trust baby, but it turns out he's from a very wealthy family. Anyway, he's also extremely talented songwriter. So they meet, and they fall in love, and at some point they encounter Joey White, who is the original protagonist from the other book. So Joey's the producer. He discovers he's discovered Dallas and Sky. The second person is Sky, and they takes them back to Los Angeles, where Strad Records is located, which is now the company he runs, and Dallas becomes his protege. And so the book that I left off the last video I made was this one, Muse. You see it? Muse is my name. I love this book. So this is what I'm going to read from today. This is the last book in the series. I am currently writing a 4th book in the series called The Label, which is a ghost story, Very intriguing ghost story. I'm taking my time with it. It's been about a year, so it takes me about a year and a half. So there will be another book coming relatively soon. But this is my current book, Muse. This story picks up. Actually, I'm just going to read from this story, and you'll be able to get it. For me, it's best to even though a lot happens in this book, it's a more I would call it a psychological drama because a lot of these things they're not supernatural, but they're psychological. These characters. So I'm gonna open it up, read a little bit of the first part of the book, and then there's a couple of paragraphs, and I think they will give you kind of what's going on in the story. So I want to encourage people to get this series, to get involved in it. They're very reasonably priced. Self-published author, so I have the power to lower the price. The first book I had a predatory publisher, so this book I can't get the price down. But for the other ones, all the other books, they're not lesser books. They're just priced better because I have control over that. So Amazon.com. There are many other places, Barnes and Nobles and so forth, but I got to say Amazon. Amazon's the biggest, the best, and so I recommend that you get the series. So I'm going to read a little bit of Muse. Chapter 1, Concourse. There he was again, sitting on that filthy, cold concrete floor which lies beneath the streets of San Francisco. The subway system for this city is Muni, and on a lower level, BART, which connects cities and counties and airports, and well, you get the picture. Muni for the city, BART for the whole Bay Area. This guy I'm talking about now is always, so far as I could tell, on the concourse level just beneath the street above both train levels, and usually pretty much at the very same spot at Powell Street Station. He'd probably be considered a street musician by most, although technically he's not, since he does his work underground, which of course is not a street. He's far from alone in his daily endeavor. San Francisco has got musicians, singers, tap dancers, ventriloquists, and well, trouble is the good, the bad, and the ugly are all, and good, the bad, and the horrendous are all clanging and banging side by side. A few of them very polished, playing on good, even classical instruments. Probably music students offsetting the cost of books and living in a city such as this. A few more legitimate street entertainers, scratching by with what they do best. Then there's the lion's share, homeless people, just making noise for a buck. I knew the street life, knew it far better than I cared to, far better than any sane person would. Anyway, I want to talk about this dude that I kept running into beneath the streets of the city. I'm guessing 22, but definitely no more than 24 years old. Probably black and Latino, or maybe some other combination. His race was not easily determined on sight, but he sure did rest easy on the eyes. Not too hard to find good-looking people among the young, of course. What caught and then held my attention about this particular good-looking man was when he opened his mouth, or better to say, when he played the instrument. A gifted man with a biological harp lodged in his throat. No matter his race or nationality, this bird could chirp like no other bird I'd ever encountered on or beneath the streets of the city. Was it soprano? No, soprano is a woman's range. I did know that much. Maybe it was some kind of rare tenor or falsetto. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, and I couldn't for the life of me figure why a dude with a voice like that seemed obsessed with performing church music. Perhaps the gospel angle was simply a calculated ploy to loosen the purse of burnt-out alms for the poor, weary pedestrians as they rushed by, making a conscious effort to not make eye contact with the city's beggars. A beggar, my God. What must it be like for a guy like him? How good would one have to be to break through and actually be heard against such a backdrop? On the next morning, as I hurried on my way to my favorite Starbucks, which happened to be my favorite spot for people watching and fleshing out new characters for a novel, I found the sight of this talented young guy sitting on that filthy floor particularly disturbing. His hands and clothes were a little dirty. Not dope fiend dirty, or I don't give a shit dirty. Obviously, there was some effort at keeping himself together, but hey, what's up, my man? I said. Looks like you're getting a slow start today. So you finally said something, said the musician, setting up his gear. I see you around here a lot. You're good. I mean, your sound. You have a hell of a voice, brother. Very unique. If I'm so good, asked the young man, why you never put anything in the hat? I see you walking by pretty much every morning, always stopping for just a bit, sometimes even looking back over your shoulder. You're right, I've been robbing you blind, I said, pulling the 20 from my front pocket, feasting on the talent for free. I had to hand him the money since he had yet to place the gold mining hat on the ground. Thanks, man, he said, accepting the bill and shoving it deep into his right sock, which was also very dirty. That settled it. This dude was living on the streets. Sure don't see a lot of those around here, he said, while switching out old batteries in his battered microphone. Hopefully this is a sign. That's usually about what I get for the whole morning. You should be getting a lot more for what you do, I said. You think the setting here might have something to do? Welcome to the world of the $1 bill. Some of the guys do quite a bit better, especially the ones who look like they don't need the money. Ain't that some shit? Maybe I should take up the fucking cello. Or, oh shit, here comes Lucy and Ethel. I looked behind me to see two police officers, one male and one female, working their way towards us as they used their nightsticks to tap on the shoe soles of several sleeping or passed out men lined up against subway terminal's walls. Which one's Ethel? I asked. Woman, she's the sidekick, said the musician. Lucy's the redhead. What's your name, brother? They call me Spider, and yours? Carson, I said, extending my hand. Looks like this might be a great time to go for a cup of coffee. Actually, I was hoping I'd run into you today. Huh? Said Spider. I want to kick something around with you, brother. Could be an opportunity. Well, the cops are going to make me keep it moving anyway. What you want to talk about, man? I know a spot, I said. It's right over. It's right at the top of the escalator. Here, let me help you with your stuff. Just a little bit more here. Okay, here's the rundown. Spider-Man was a 25-year-old newbie from Fresno, California. He'd been here just over 6 months, but the money he brought with him only lasted about 4.5. The weekly hotel where he had been staying would only carry him a couple of weeks on promises. Now they were giving him one more week to pick up his things. After that, he, like a couple thousand other young people around the city, would be carrying everything he owned either on his back or in a cart. This was not a new story. Sooner or later, the hard living would bring on the hard drugs. After one or more of the most addictive, heroin, crack, or meth, sunk their talons into his flesh, his chances of realizing any part of his promise would drop to near nothing. My mission? Do something. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late. Me, my name is Carson Elliott. I'm 34, been living in the city about 33 years. There were a couple failed attempts at New York City. Black, gay, single, unemployed, and loving it. At least I'll be loving it for the next 2 weeks anyway. That's when I get the very last unemployment check. No doubt I'll hate it after that. Oh, I'll still love being black and gay, maybe even single. It's just this work thing. No, I'm not totally desperate. I won't have to wait until the fridge and kitchen cabinets are on empty, or hear the lovely tap tap of an eviction notice being secured at eye level. My parents own the building where I live and 3 others around the city. 2 bigger ones in Oakland. They've got more than enough work to keep me busy for the next 10, 20, or 30 years. Trouble is, I'm just not that interested. I've got my own dreams, none of which include changing out old toilet seats, setting out the garbage bins, or getting cussed the fuck out every time I politely mentioned that someone's rent was a little overdue. I'll stop there. Because the temptation is, you want people to get the story, and when you're trying to read a page out of the middle of it, or whatever, you don't feel like you're communicating the story well enough that the people will want to go out and buy your book. Anyway, so like I just said, that was the opening. Just because openings are easier because you have some context. At least you know what the story's about, or who it's about. All right. Now, okay. So these guys have gotten together. Joey, the first protagonist, and Spider, who he's as it turns out, he's a muse for him. He's inspiring the writer to want to write. Okay, uh, so now Carson is very good friends with Dwayne and Sky, which are the characters from the last book, who run a record company in Los Angeles. So he contacts them and says he's found this great talent in the subway concourse. So so Dallas then wants to meet the kid, and so they're on a plane to go to Los Angeles. So Dallas can meet this new kid, Carson, who has this beautiful voice, singing voice. I mean, obviously, I didn't read you the whole first chapter. I read you a bit of it, but that's what happens basically. So now I'm just going to read you when they arrive. This is pick it up when they arrive in Los Angeles. Uh, when he said he met us at LAX, that means Dallas, who is the CEO of Strad Records now. Here it is. He met us at LAX personally. Carson, my man, said Dallas with the big handshake hug. Damn, you're aging backwards. Right, I said. Well, you have become the big. Forgive me. Right, I said. Well, haven't you become the big Hollywood record producer type? This is Spider. Huh? Said Dallas. Damn, now where did he go? I said, looking into the crowd of exited passengers. Must have made a dash for the restroom. Maybe he's still on the plane, said Dallas. What? No, I stammered. We were sitting at the very back. Carson, you all right? What? Of course I'm all right. Why in the hell would I be all right? Dude, don't look at me like that. Maybe you should sit down, said Dallas. You don't want to get too anxious. Hey, fuck you, dude. I'm fine, I said, starting to panic a little. We better find security station. Find the security station. They'll page here. Carson, I've been standing here since the plane landed. So what are you trying to say, Dallas? I know what you're thinking, and you're dead wrong. Dude, I'm fine. Brother, you walked through that ramp alone. That concludes the reading from Muse. So all these books are available at Amazon.com and other booksellers, online booksellers. Love and Gospel Music, The Epiphany, Muse. You're going to love this book. Muse is a very unusual story. A lot goes on there. So I think I don't think it's a spoiler to say, from what I just read to you, the Muse is Spider. Dwayne is the protagonist. I mean, there's a lot of characters I got to keep straight. Carson is the protagonist. Carson has met this kid on the subway concourse. He's promised to bring him to Los Angeles, and now they're in Los Angeles, and apparently there's something not quite right about Carson. I love them. These are my children. So this concludes part 2 on this book. Listen, I know people. I mean, people are not reading books like they used to read. But every once in a while, you come into something. Just like my relationship. I remember when I first saw Tyler Perry, and I'm not a play type person. I will go to a play, and I'm just bored to tears. Mainly because I can't go to the bathroom, because the small theaters I would go to, you couldn't get up in the middle and go to the bathroom and come back. You had to stay there for the whole thing. So plays were just not that interesting to me. And then I saw Tyler Perry, the first play, I think it was Family Reunion, the first one I saw. And I fell in love all of a sudden with theater. So this is the thing. If it's a good story, there's always a chance that people will like it as much as you did creating it. So thanks for listening. I'll talk about my other book separately, Meth Monster. I think there's an important message in Meth Monster. It was my first book, and it's a testimony. So it's a true life story. But I love that book also. But we'll have to do it a different time. Love you.